Hi there. Welcome to another edition of Tinnitist TV. Today I'm talking to Stefan Babcock of PUP. You know, I think it was Norman Bates who said, "We all go a little mad sometimes." Well, for PUP, that time is apparently now. The Toronto pop-punk hero's fourth album is magnificently titled The Unraveling of PUP the Band. And according to Babcock, that's pretty much what happened when the quartet holed up for several weeks in an isolated, bat-infested mansion to record the disc. Whatever the circumstances, it's pretty clear PUP are thinking outside the box on this one. Unraveling augments their signature blend of punk chaos, pop melody, and arch lyrics with keyboards, saxophone, a slew of guest stars, and even what Babcock considers to be, quote, the world's stupidest piano ballad, unquote. If all that doesn't make you want to listen to the album, nothing will. A few weeks before the release, Babcock zoomed in from his Toronto home to talk to me about making bad decisions, overthinking everything, and keeping his grandmother's name out of his mouth. Check it out. Well, Stefan Babcock, thank you for doing this today. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for talking to me.
My pleasure. So you've got a fourth album coming out and on April Fool's Day. I don't know how it took you guys so long to get down to this, but it seems right somehow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very excited. The album kind of starts a little bit weird, so maybe people will believe it to be a joke, and I can only hope that it'll be a bit of a disaster on that day.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think people are going to assume from the album title, The Unraveling of PUP the Band, all one word in the corporate sense, they're going to assume it's a joke. And to some degree it is, but there's also more behind that, right?
Sure, yeah. I mean, you know, we've come to a point in this band where it's very much it's both our passion and very much a business. You know what I mean? It's an interesting crossroads and intersection that we haven't had to deal with before. This kind of meeting of, you know, our art and commerce, I guess, and we kind of are dealing with that sort of struggle in the same way that we deal with everything else, and it's by leaning into the absurdity of the situation. So trying to find some humor, some levity in the situation, and just trying to kind of own the fact that I don't know, can you be a corporate shill for your own company? I'm not sure.
I don't know. Why not? If you're going to be one for somebody, you might as well be for yourself, right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
The thing is, you know, the word unraveling, I also kind of, listening to the album, to me, I took it more in the sense of the unraveling of a constraining sweater that's kind of bound you guys for a long time, because you're really kind of, you know, breaking out of the box here and kind of breaking a lot of the own maybe self-imposed rules you had on your music. Was that something you consciously went in to do, or was that just what happened?
Well, I think it's a bit of both. First, I'll say thank you. That's a much kinder kind of analysis of the title than I would have given it. So I appreciate that.
That's what I'm here for.
But no, it's definitely a little bit of both. We definitely set out to not repeat ourselves, not make, you know, our last record was called Morbid Stuff, and it did quite well by our standards, and we were very adamant about not making Morbid Stuff too, and trying to still, even though we're on our fourth record, still trying to find creative fulfillment, which just means, you know, at least pushing our own boundaries. Mm-hmm. So we went into the making of this record with that in mind, and then the rest of the other part to us stepping outside the box is truly owed to the four of us unraveling in the studio. I mean, we were in the studio, we lived in the studio for 5 weeks, and we only left to get groceries. And that's a lot of time for four people to spend in the same kind of area without any outside distraction. And especially when you're in such a creative, a creative pressure cooker. Mm-hmm. So I feel like as the weeks went on, we started to make very strange decisions, which some of the decisions were stupid. And I will just say that I'm grateful that we got to this headspace where we were like, yeah, let's make this ridiculous decision, because I think the record is better and more fun for it. And I also think that these are decisions that, had we been in a more stable headspace, if we had been treating it more like a 9-to-5 job, we would not have made a lot of these decisions. So,
like what decisions?
Well, the record starts with the world's, what I consider to be the world's stupidest piano ballad. And piano has never appeared on a Pup record before. It's really starting off on a weird foot. And we made that decision when we were about 4.5 weeks into the process. And it was a decision that I 100% would have shut down had it been brought up in the first week. But because of the place where we were all at mentally, and we were kind of losing our minds, we were just more receptive to just leaning into those kind of ridiculous decisions. And now I feel like the first 4 minutes of this record are the best 4 minutes of any record we've made. So I'm very pleased with that decision.
And yeah, and that's just really the beginning of all the unique things going on here. I mean, you've got keyboards, you've got a sax solo at one point, and that piano ballad, I mean, it reappears. It's kind of a through line for the whole thing, talking about art and commerce and the collision of these things. You also had a new producer this time, for the first time. How much did that factor into all of this, and what prompted you to shift from Dave Schiffman to Peter? Is it Katis or Katis?
Peter Katis, yeah.
Yeah. What prompted that?
Well, I'll preface this by saying that Dave Schiffman, who made our first 3 records, is one of my I consider him one of my closest friends, and he is like he is still such a part of Pup. Like he's kind of been a silent fifth member, somebody who really helped shape our sound over 3 records and really like kind of helped us develop as a band. And when we're still very close friends, and honestly, he still gives me advice about this band all the time. So I'm very grateful to him. I think, going back to what I was saying before, was we were so adamant about not repeating ourselves and not making Morbid Stuff Part 2. And I feel like our first 3 records all progressed from one to the other, just in terms of the songwriting and the musicianship. But we were essentially always trying to make the same record, just better than the previous one. And I feel like we kind of reached the logical conclusion to that on our last record. So one of the easiest ways to push the boundaries is to kind of just shake up the people involved in the process, in the project and in the process. And so we asked Peter Katis to do it, who's, he's produced so many great records. He produced the first 2 Interpol records, which were huge for me when I was a teenager. Like really got me into songwriting, made me want to join a band. And of course, he's done a lot of work with the National and other bands. He's just a great producer. So we're very fortunate to get to work with him. He definitely has a different approach to making records than we've ever experienced. He's more of a vibe guy, like try to get the mood right. And the studio that we were recording in, he owns the studio. So having that sort of freedom for Peter to, we would work with him all day, and then at 8 o'clock, he'd be like, all right, see ya, got a family, I'm leaving, have fun, keep going. And it gave us just he gave us a lot of leash to just kind of experiment, try different things on our own, see what worked, so that when he showed up the next day, there were a lot of kind of weird choices to choose from.
And what was, I mean, so would you present him with these things, and was he then going, I like this, I like that, let's keep this, let's keep that? Or was he just kind of going, what do you guys want to do?
Well, he was very receptive to all the ideas. So in the end, we were making all the all the decisions, but he definitely helped guide us to trust our instincts a little more than the four of us tend to overthink everything.
Hmm.
And I think a big part of sort of working independently, just like having the four of us recording at night without anybody else around, uh, was a learning experience to just kind of trust our instincts. And that was something that Peter really kind of guided us through.
Did it change your relationships within the band and with each other?
Well, to a certain extent, I mean, I feel like the four of us have been through everything together. Like, we have been enemies, we have been best friends, we love each other, we hate each other. It's we're proud of each other and disappointed in each other. We've run the gamut of emotions, So we're all very familiar with how each of us reacts and what role everyone plays in the band. But one major thing that we learned was Nestor, who plays bass in Pup, is a really great recording engineer, and he ended up actually engineering and recording almost all of the vocals that I sang. And so it was a new relationship between him and I, because usually he's not really even in the room when I'm recording the vocals. And I think Nestor in the past couple of years has really come into his own as a producer in his own right. So he's kind of like unlocked a next level for him here. It's been cool to watch.
Well, perfect. And you also, I think you've got more guests on this one than you've ever had before. What was how did that all come about?
Yeah, we have a lot of friends singing on this record. Catherine from a great band from Montreal called No Bro is on it. Sarah from Illuminati
Yeah,
Hotties.
love her. Yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing. They Illuminati Hotties just played in Toronto last night, so it was great to go see them.
Huh.
It's been a long time since I've been to a show, so that was great. And my friend Mel from a band called Casper Skulls in Toronto, and Eric from Remo Drive, they all sang on the record. And it was really nice to just get some friends involved. I mean, it was all virtual. Obviously, they're just sending us tracks in, but we wanted to get this kind of feeling of like a more communal situation going on, and that's really hard when you're stuck inside in a house with the same people. So having our friends send us in, vocal tracks and gang tracks and stuff like that, just kind of like made the whole experience feel more inclusive and more fun. And like, having fun at this point in our career is really high up on the list of things that are important, because I feel like we've reached a point where we feel like we have some stability with this job, and we feel good about that. And the main thing now is trying to make sure that we're still fulfilled and happy and treating each other well.
Well, yeah, I mean, it must be interesting because, you've gone over the past, 12 years now from basically having a hobby to having a job to, I mean, this is a full-fledged career right now. This is what you're doing. You're a man in his mid-30s and you play in a punk rock band and write punk rock songs. That cannot be something that you anticipated.
No, not at all. I mean, I've said this before, but when we started this band, the expectation was that we were going to play some shows in our friends' basements, and that was kind of it. Like, we were just doing it so that we could hang out with each other and maybe like play some songs for a few of our friends. And as the band's grown, our expectations at each level are higher, but they're still so much lower than maybe they should be. Like, I'm still so dumbfounded when anything good happens to this band. And that's a pretty incredible place for me to be, because I'm never disappointed,
Well, sure. Aim low, buy low, sell high. Yeah.
That's right. That's always kind of been the mentality, and it's worked out. It's worked out really well. Like, we're never sitting there feeling like, oh, we deserve to have something else. It's like, I still can't believe it when we play shows and 1,000 people show up. Like, it blows my mind. And not to say that I don't think we deserve it. Like we've worked very, very hard, but at the same time, like a lot of people work hard. We've had a lot of luck,
Hmm.
and we've been very fortunate. And you know, like Mark Hoppus from Blink 182 called me the other day.
I
That's a
was going to ask.
crazy, crazy thing for me to say as like a guy who, uh, because of Mark, looked up the word enema in the dictionary when I was in 6th grade. You know, it's it's I'm
I love
always
that's your takeaway from that.
yeah, yeah. No, I'm always happy. I'm always just like kind of in awe of where we're at, and you
Sure.
know, gratitude is a big part of it for us now. We're all very grateful to have this job.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I think that's great that you're not a jaded fuck yet. That'll come. You've got plenty of years for that to come. But how does that lower expectation thing kind of factor in with this? I mean, what are you anticipating the reaction to this to be from people who are sort of used to hearing pop as this, and now you're that?
Yeah, I mean, I tr- I'll be honest. I try not to anticipate too much what people are gonna think, just because the best that we can do is just make records that the four of us think are good, and the rest is not up to us. Like it's just kind of you throw it out into the world and it's a crapshoot. Like hopefully people like it. We'll see. If I had to make a guess, I would say if you're already a pup fan, 50-50, this will be your favorite pup record or you'll hate it. So, you know,
Well, sure, that's true of everybody. That we're
yeah,
you're either gonna like it or hate it.
yeah, there's not a lot of middle ground here. So I really hope that I really hope that people connect with these songs and like it and appreciate that we, you know, took a step out of our comfort zone on this record. I'm very proud of it. It's my favorite
Yeah.
record that we've ever done. Um, but in terms of like tangible success or whatever, like I have no expectations. I'm just happy to be along for the ride, you know.
Are you more nervous about this a little bit?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Actually, I feel like I feel like what we've learned from the past three records is that when we trust ourselves, like the songs and the moments on every record that we were really excited about are usually the same songs and moments that the people who like the band are excited about.
Mhm.
And the songs and the moments where we feel like we kind of phoned it in or we ended up making decisions that were not the right ones in the moment, I think is also reflected in our fans. Like they dislike the same songs that we dislike.
Well, it's good.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm less yeah, I'm less nervous. I think like I just think like, you know, I was nervous making the record and now that's over and it's not up to me anymore. So I'm letting go of it all and yeah, I hope people do connect with it though.
So do you think that this is a kind of a new pathway in terms of the way you're going to record next time?
I don't know. It was a pretty unique and intense experience.
Right.
And while it was maybe my favorite record to record, and I'm so glad we had this experience, I could see us, if we did this again in the next couple of years, I feel like there would be some major fallout. So,
You got away with it once. Let's not push your
yeah,
luck.
yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I'm feeling good about it right now. I'm not sure what the future holds in terms of records and songwriting for us, but
Mhm.
yeah, we'll have to wait and see how this next monster tour goes.
Talking about that, I mean, some of these songs are things that I think you'd have to kind of radically rejig to perform live, unless you're planning on, I don't know, hauling a sax player around or pulling the keyboard out on stage, or how are you, and I know you're not thinking of that in the studio. You're not going, how are we going to play this live? You're just trying to make the song the best song you can have. Now that you have to take these songs out and put them up on legs and trot them around the world, how are you figuring that out?
Well, we've been rehearsing and it's actually been going really great. We haven't we haven't had to do too much. At the end of the day, like, yeah, there's not going to be a sax solo probably, but the song, it doesn't really require that. That's just kind of like a funny extra thing. At the end of the day, we tried to make this record sound like the four of us ripping, as much as possible. And I think it's going to really translate live. I mean, it's hard for me to talk about it because I am the musician in the band who has the least talent. Like, I'm kind of like, I very much care about songwriting, and I'm a competent guitar player. That's what I would say about myself. The other three guys are incredible musicians. They're all trained. They know theory. They're fantastic, and so they're kind of able to cover a lot of these parts. I mean, Steve is such a guitar nerd. He can kind of manipulate his pedals and his guitar to sound like a synth or sound like a keyboard or sometimes sound like horns. Like, it's kind of crazy what he's capable of doing. And the same is true for the other two guys as well. I mean, Zach plays a sampler pad and drums at the same time. Like, it's kind of nuts. So I'm fortunate to be in a band with those three guys who can kind of carry my musical ineptitude through. And
I think you're pulling your weight.
Oh, I'm doing my best. I'll say that. But no, the songs are sounding good live. I'm very excited to get in front of people and play them.
Cool. So talking about fourth albums, these are landmark things for a lot of bands. Led Zeppelin 4, Queen, and Night at the Opera, The Who, Tommy. Were you guys going into this with any sort of this is our fourth album, we want to, make a statement, we want to, I mean, I know you've talked about not wanting to repeat yourself or reinvent yourself, but did you have any sort of grander ambitions beyond that?
I have to say that all of the ambitions were just internal creative ambitions. It was like, we all wanted to take ourselves out of a comfort zone and push each other as hard as we could, but we did not go into this record trying to make a big hit or like, we've never tried to make this band be anything that it is not. So, it all comes back to that lack of expectations thing. Like, when your expectations are, some would say low, some would say in check. When you have I think the right expectations, it just comes with so much more creative freedom. Like, we were just able to really not worry about anything except for making a record that was going to make the four of us happy. And I think that comes across on the record, because I think it sounds pretty joyful at moments, and you can hear that we really, really love doing what we're doing. So
was a lot of this written in the studio, or did you go in with all the songs already in intact, sort of?
Yeah, a lot of them were intact, and a lot of them were intact. I'd say about 3/4, and we used the studio more to kind of experiment with them and play with different ideas. And then a few of them were written and came together in the studio, and that's always fun. Well, I mean, we rarely do that. We've done that only on a couple songs in the past, but on this record, we did it more. And it was really fun because you kind of just you can't overthink things. You just have to commit to the idea, and you walk away from the process and you go, man, I hope I didn't just screw that song up. So it's exciting to hear the mixes back when you get them. And I think for the most part, like, feel really, really good about how the songs turned out.
Are you able to get out of your own way and get out of your head? I mean, is that something that you've been able to sort of take from this experience and apply to other areas of your life? Or are you still overthinking every other thing in your world?
Yeah, we're overthinkers. We're very neurotic, especially myself and Zach, who plays drums. We're very, very neurotic, and a lot of our songs we beat to death. And by that, I mean, the song gets written, and for 6 months, we're just tweaking and trying new things, only to usually arrive back at the first thing we were doing. But you know, part of that neurosis and kind of attention to the detail in the arrangements is, I think, one of the features that makes this band special. So I'm glad we didn't lose that completely.
All right. Yeah. Well, I guess it's without the neurosis, what do you got?
Yeah, a bunch of well-adjusted individuals, boring.
That's not rock and roll. So, hey, is that story true that your grandmother sort of inadvertently gave the band its name, or is that just something you made up?
Oh, I've been told not to talk about
that. By whom?
Perhaps the grandmother. I don't know. Yeah, it was. Yeah, we don't. Somebody's had a talking with me, and we don't discuss that story anymore.
Wow, that is not the question I expected that answer to. Talk about anything else, but I'm shutting down that grandmother story.
Yeah. You know, I don't know. It's interesting. Not really an answer to that question, but you know, when you're, what I've found interesting about being so public about my life and how my brain works and the stuff that I've struggled with and stuff like that, is that it's gotten easier and easier for me to share those things, but it has not gotten easier for my loved ones to accept that I'm sharing those things, and sometimes they can feel exposed. You know, like we have a song called Sibling Rivalry on our last record. Sure. That I think my sister was pretty pissed off about, because she was like, you might be okay with airing your dirty laundry to the world, but that doesn't mean I'm okay with you airing my dirty laundry. So
but if you're not writing about or yourself, I mean, you know, you're gonna have to start making up characters or something, right?
It's still mostly about myself, and
you just have to limit it to yourself.
Well, I mean, I think most people who are close to me accept that part of the deal of being friends or being, you know, a family member is that I might say something that they're not going to like, and some people might hear it, but I think most of the people around me have accepted that. And also, unfortunately for them, I've what's the phrase? I've accepted the, like, shoot first, ask questions later. Change. Pardon me?
Accepting the things you cannot change? Is that?
No. Like it's like a shoot first, ask for forgiveness later. Yeah.
Well, that is a great songwriting technique, sir. So, you know, talking about songwriting for a minute again, do you know, it doesn't sound like you overwrite. Like some bands will go in with, you know, 20, 30, 40 songs and, you know, record everything and whittle it down. It sounds to me more like you're going in with kind of just what you need.
No, I think we recorded maybe 16 songs.
Okay, a little more.
And it's always like a tough and contentious decision on what goes on the record, because everybody has different personal preferences, and we're actually very proud of all the songs that we wrote this time around, which is not always the case, but we're very proud of all of them.
Sure. Of
course. And so it's more of a kind of which of these songs fit best together. So yeah, that's always a fun argument to have after you've spent 5 weeks arguing about things anyways. But no, it's good. Yeah, we had about 16 songs that we recorded, and yeah, feels good. Songwriting is getting easier, honestly, as the band goes. It just kind of gets easier for me a little bit as a lyricist, and easier for the other guys too. I think we all just trust each other more, and decisions are made faster and more effectively.
Yeah. Well, we talked about, you know, you didn't anticipate 12 years ago that you'd still be doing this today. Do you think you'll still be doing this 12 years from now?
Oh, no way, man. No, I hope so. I'll say I hope so. I love it. I the greatest feeling in the world for me is playing shows and writing songs, and I'm really grateful I get to do it. But man, I barely have, like, I can't even think a month in the future, let alone 12 years in the future. So I don't really have a whole lot of long-term goals. I'm just doing my best to keep what we've got going and enjoy myself in the process.